All right, welcome back. We are so glad that you are back with us at Real Talk. We have lots going on, and we hope that you've been enjoying the shows and that you are subscribing. Make sure so that you can find out what's going on and what we're doing. And we are excited about this show today because we're going to be talking about how to change your trajectory and how to reinvent yourself. I know this has been on a lot of people's minds. I've been seeing and hearing from a lot of women about reinventing themselves. I've been watching the landscape change. So this is going to be really very informative and positive and encouraging so that you can be able to see how to change that trajectory and to reinvent yourself. And I am Dr. Kim Brown Barber, better known as Dr. Kim. I'm the CEO of Journey to Becoming, and my co-host, Queen of Feeling Fabulous.
Michelle Marie Lawson, known as the Queen of Feeling Fabulous, owner and founder of Blissful Living for You, as well as All Day Cable Incorporated. And it's a pleasure to be here with you this
All
evening.
right. Yeah, right. And wherever it's evening for most, but it may be morning for somebody or whatever, wherever you are, where you're watching this. But we really appreciate you. We have a special guest. We normally will have maybe two people as a panel, but we have a special guest today that will be talking to the subject because they experienced it for themselves, for sure. And it's wonderful to hear how it actually turns out. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and then we'll get started.
Hi, I suppose you're talking about me.
Yes, that's you,
Yeah,
Eddie.
okay. Yeah, my name is Eddie Matsumoto. I have reinvented myself a few times. So,
Okay, well, we're not going to get into the
anyway,
question. Just say who
right,
you are and what you're
right,
what
right.
you're the
Yeah,
owner of.
that's why
Yeah.
I'm trying to kind of figure out how to introduce myself.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, yeah.
I
I
forgot.
will
Yeah.
begin. Well,
The
so
the two
firstly,
hats. Yeah, you go
I,
ahead.
yeah, I am originally from Japan, but somehow I got to the US and I became a nurse practitioner for the past 30 years. And then I think about 15 months ago, I retired from the hospital and I am a full-time artist, fashion designer, and a coach entrepreneur. So
So
I
we're
live
gonna
in
stop right
Canada.
there before we get into too much because I don't want to get into the story yet. But
Okay.
just that much would tell you that why she is our featured guest for this particular show to talk about that transition, not only from the international side, but also just from the professional side and the personal side. So it's pretty good. So one of the things that when I was looking, I noticed that the numbers showed that 66% of women were um, uh, it showed that 66% of women were reinventing themselves. Um, what did it say? It's a March 30th, 2022, an October 2021 survey, 3,515 workers. The Gartner survey shows 65% of women said that the pandemic made them rethink their workplaces. And so it's showing that the pandemic had more impact on women rethinking their workplaces than men. And also, it goes on to show how a lot more, some of the losses, as far as job related losses, happened during that point in time. It wasn't as high as they thought it was going to be for women as far as the job losses, but people actually rethinking their jobs and leaving was higher, being at the 65%. So we're seeing, and we have the actual data that's showing that the pandemic impacted women more as far as being able to start to rethink their lives, really, even though they're rethinking their workplace, but they're rethinking their lives of, what's my values, what's the quality, what does it look like. And so a lot of women are in the midst of reinventing themselves. And so Washington Post even was responding to and highlighted and featured women who were reinventing themselves at different ages, in the 30s, some in the 50s, some in the 60s. And they were talking about what that looked like. And so today we want to talk a little bit about what that looks like in general and talk about, why do you think, first of all, before we get into the story, but why do you think so many women during the pandemic started rethinking their workplaces? And so I want to start that question out. And let's go to Rochelle first, and then we'll go to Eddie.
I think during the pandemic, it gave women an opportunity to sit back and take a look at their lives, whether it's their lives, their personal and professional lives. And it also allowed them to see that maybe they may have been doing a job that is their professional career, but it wasn't their purpose. And the pandemic, since everybody was at home, had gave people an opportunity to sit with what they really would want to do if it was their last days here on earth. Would they be wanting to sit in an office, in a corporate office, and do their job and get paid, but not really fulfilling their passion and stepping into their purpose? Or if it was their last days on earth, would they want to spend that time doing something that they love to do that actually nourishes and feeds their soul? And so I think because of the pandemic, women had an opportunity to really evaluate that. And a lot of them decided, I think I want to fulfill my passion. I think I want to step into living my purpose. And I might be good at this job, but it doesn't feed and nourish my soul. And I want to do something that actually feeds and nourishes my soul. So I think that's one of the reasons why you've seen so many women start their own businesses. That actually was something that they were passionate about, and it fulfilled their purpose. And it gave them a work-life balance, so to speak, where they could command their own time and be in control of their own destiny instead of relying on a corporation to fulfill that need for them.
Awesome. Okay, Eddie, what do you think?
Right, I cannot agree more with what Rochelle says. So I think we really had time to reflect on ourselves. We had lots of time, either by ourselves or with the family, confined in inside the building, couldn't go out. So we really think about what we are doing right now, what our life is about. So do I really want to continue doing what we are doing? And maybe it's time for change, for better or worse. So yeah, that's exactly what happened to me too. And also that time I retired from the hospital, I saw the statistics. That was the highest time that nurses, in the healthcare, mostly nurses, quit their job to do something else. So I was one of many. So I think it's just having time, time facing our life and death. Not really with the COVID, we didn't know, at the beginning, we really didn't know, if we're going to contract, how we're going to get contracted. And in this life and death situation, young people, died, out of nowhere. They were healthy 2 days ago, and now they're dead. So we really have to think about, exactly like Rochelle said, if this at the end of our lives, did I really fulfill my dreams? Did I really, spend this life the way we wanted? So, you have to think about, do I want to continue the status quo, or do something for the rest of our lives just the way we want it? Start the bucket list right now. No, don't wait. Don't have any time to waste anymore.
Awesome. Exactly. So I see that we're all aligned with why this happened, right? Why the numbers are so high among the women. And I love what both of you were saying about, we had that time to think. I mean, we were forced to think, you couldn't go out, like you were saying, Eddie, you couldn't go out the building, you couldn't go anywhere. So whoever you were with when it happened, that's who you were going to be with until they started lifting, so whether it be whether you were by yourself, some people were by themselves because somebody was traveling and they couldn't get back. And some people were with their family members. And after a while, they were like, oh my gosh, I got to get out this house. Right. But it really forced us to be able to sit with ourselves. You're absolutely right. And, I believe, and that was interesting because I didn't know about the nursing part. I knew about the general number, but I didn't know about the nursing number being so high during that time, as well as women leaving the jobs in the nursing. And just, I know Rochelle kind of, I don't know whether she talked about it, but she has the healthcare background as well. I'm just going to put that out there. So she's real familiar with that background. And so let me ask you, because you kind of gave us a little, a little carrot to be able to see the spoiler alert. So you were in the medical field, as you kind of already alluded to. Now you're in the art field. Tell us how that happened. What does that look like? Now I kind of want you to tell the story of what that looked like. And don't leave out about Mother Teresa. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, I tend to forget because that was like 30 years ago. So, studied out, I fell in love with Mother Teresa when I was in high school. So I went to India during college. I wanted to be with her, wanted to see what she looks like and what she does, what her presence was like. So I went to India, Calcutta, and volunteered to work in the hospice where she was running. So that was my experience, first experience in healthcare. And so that was wonderful. I got to talk to Mother Teresa and everything, but the big conclusion was that I was totally useless in that situation, because I my English wasn't that great, and I had no skills in healthcare whatsoever. So that's why when I decided I need to study English and I needed to know something about healthcare, not specifically nursing, but so because of that, I decided to come to the US and study English and study something in medicine, nursing or medicine, I didn't know. So that's why I came here and became a nurse practitioner. For 8 years, I kept studying and went from nurses A to LVN to RN to master's degree in nursing. So became a nurse practitioner. So that's what I had been doing for about 30 years, specializing in diabetes care. So that was wonderful. I loved what I was doing. And then in my 50s, I started thinking about retirement. Maybe, one of these days, maybe 5 or 10 years down the road, I would like to retire. That's about the time I started to take some art classes, local community college. And it turned out I was pretty good at it. So it became a very expensive hobby I was doing on the weekend. So I think one of these days when I retire, I want to be a full-time artist. That was like a dream far, far away, somewhere down the road. But during COVID, and my boss called me into his office, and he said, we really, really value your work. We really like your work. So, you're part-time right now. I was working 3 to 4 days a week, but we really want you to be full-time. So I say, we've had this conversation so many times, and I have life. I love to paint art, and he knows that. So I'm not going to be full-time. So he said, like, well, that's too bad, because unless you become full-time, we're going to eliminate your part-time
Oh,
position.
wow.
So pretty much about the threatening, like,
Mhm.
yeah, whether you're gonna be full time or you're fired. So it only took me like 3 seconds to decide. So I thought, well, thank you very much for making it so easy for me. I wasn't thinking about it, but I think I'm gonna retire now. So yeah. By the way, that was 15 months ago, and they haven't filled my position yet. But anyway.
Wow.
So that's how much they valued my service. But that was a wrong approach. Like in the Pretty Woman, Julia Roberts said, big mistake, huge. But anyway, that, kind of pushed me over the edge. I wasn't really thinking about retiring anytime soon, but, you might have seen those cartoons that, over the cliff, the human being is on the edge of the cliff, and the big hands of God is kind of trying to kind of push you over the edge. So you have nowhere to go but to jump off the cliff and to grow the wings, while you're going down. But the cartoon also shows there's a God's hand on the bottom, kind of ready to catch you too. So that's sort of what I see myself. I was not planning, but I was kind of pushed, he pushed me over the edge. So I jumped without too much planning. But although I was painting, I started to sell a little art here and there. So it was not like I was unprepared. So I had some preparation. So anyway, I became an artist full time. I got a beautiful office. Kim, you visit me in Carmel, in the heart of Carmel. Got a beautiful office, beautiful studio, and I'm just enjoying being an artist all day, every day. I'm working even harder than I used to work at the hospital, probably 50, 60 hours a week. I just cannot wait to get to the studio and then create. And just last year, it so happened that somebody wanted me to put my art on clothing. So
Mhm.
now I'm a fashion designer too. So that was totally unexpected. It
I
just,
love it. I
yeah,
love it.
yeah. So I'm a full-time artist, fashion designer. I've been coaching since I was in healthcare. So I'm a coach, entrepreneur. So I do all those things. I'm just loving it.
Wow, I just have to just do this right now and applaud you because I mean that is a lot and it takes a lot to be either jump off the cliff or be pushed off the cliff. Either way, one way or another you're going, right? So
Right.
it
Yeah.
takes a
Going down.
lot. It takes a lot to, to even if you're pushed off, it takes a lot to say, okay, I'm going to stay with this and try to make it work. And then and it's funny how one thing led to another. I mean, your art led to even the fashion designing, and you hadn't even seen or even thought about that vision, but just because you jumped, all of a sudden the reinventing just started actually just happening. That is
Mhm.
amazing. I mean, and knowing all the background that you even had, even how you even got into nursing, right? And the medical field is just phenomenal. But I just think that is to be able to do that and to look back and to see now how far you've come just in a short span of time, and then that it happened during COVID is even more just really astounding that you were able to make that type of decision, because a lot of people are making decisions like that. I mean, even though they're showing the 66% changing, but people were changing with a plan, you know what I mean? But that's really different. Rochelle, what do you think about that story?
It's interesting. Yeah, it's a good story. It's a great story. I like it. I mean, she summed it up for us, and now she's doing something that feeds and nourishes her soul. So, as an RN and Ayurvedic nurse practitioner myself, I can totally relate. You're passionate about what you do, but my thing is, as we travel down our path to bliss, we have many purposes that we discover, and the purpose that we're living in that moment in time is for us to do in that moment in time. But there comes times when we're nudged a little bit after we fulfilled our purpose in that specific genre and arena, so to speak, to step into the next phase of what the evolution of our purpose and our joyful life is. So she did that. She wanted to be in healthcare, and she worked her way from a medical assistant up to a nurse practitioner, and was loving every bit of that. And then she came to the crossroads, and it was like, well, you know you gotta jump or swim, and she jumped. Well, she was pushed off the cliff, but,
Right.
but in a good way, because she actually found something that now nourishes her soul and fulfills her passion and her purpose at this part of her journey. So it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
Excellent. And so we really appreciate you sharing that story, because that's going to encourage somebody else who's listening, who is either at the crossroads, has been at the crossroads, and doesn't know how it is going to end, or someone who's still thinking and has been thinking about it for a while and just doesn't have that courage to jump yet. And maybe they're going to be pushed. Who knows? But at least right now they're seeing and understanding. There's some encouragement. There's some light at the end of the tunnel, to know and understand you can reinvent yourself no matter what age you're at. And that's what I wanted to get to as well, is that notice that these things didn't happen. You're like, oh yeah, they were 20 years old and they just changed. Yeah, you could do that then too. But I mean, there were people that they were noticed in the survey. They were in their 30s, somewhere in their 40s, somewhere in their 50s, and somewhere even in their 60s, and they were reinventing themselves. And so how can women who are rethinking or have rethought their lives, during this time of the pandemic, and rethinking their workplaces, reinvent themselves and change their trajectory? How can they do that? How would they go about that? And so I want to go ahead and start with you, Eddie, and then we'll go to Rochelle.
I think the most important thing is to know what you really want to do with your life. So you don't live forever, and really, have a really good talk with yourself. And I think a lot of people know that what they don't want to do. No, I don't want to be in this hospital forever. I don't want to be doing this job forever. I don't want to be in this relationship forever. But you really need to find out what you really want to do, like my art. So that's number one. and then start from there. And but for some reason you're not doing that, so the next important thing is identify you are not there, why you are not there, why you're not doing what you love to do. And
Mhm.
everybody, including myself, has excuses like, I'll still have 5 years before retirement, or oh, I'm too old or too young, or oh, I don't have this degree, or you
Mhm.
have so many excuses. But I had a mentor, because I think it's good to have a coach or somebody that you
Mhm.
can talk to, and how much those excuses are BS. You could, at any age, just like you said, at any age you can start, and you don't have to have a certain degrees, or you don't have to have a certain educations or certain circumstances. But if you are passionate about it, you'll find a way. So you have to identify, what's stopping you, and then change the thinking. This is a process. You have to change the thinking, change the paradigm.
Mhm.
I was in this, go to school, go to good school, get a good grade, and get all the credentials, and get a good job at the hospital, clinics, and then go in and out, to clock in, clock out, and then save a little money for 1K, for 3B, and then you're gonna retire happily. So that's one way of thinking. But I have to kind of shift 180 degrees to being a freelancer entrepreneur. There's
Mhm.
take risks, and there's a freedom, but there's a lot of unknowns. I have never been in a businesswoman. I never thought I would be in business. So it takes courage. And but if you really want to do something, and take a chance, and you really have to talk to yourself, why you're not there, what it takes to get there. And it's always available, but people have been doing this, whatever you want to do. I'm sure there are a bunch of other people have done that. So find a mentor, get some help, do some research, and start right now, and just kind of
Mhm.
build it up, and then start doing it. Don't wait any longer. Just start planning. You don't have to quit your job today, but start planning what you want to do, what you're passionate about. Find a mentor, find some program, get educated in what you want to be, what you want to do. And then just start sooner than later, and make lots of mistakes.
Mhm.
As you're doing new things, that you're gonna make a mistake, and I'm making all kinds of mistakes. I'm at that stage making all kinds of mistakes. But had some successes too, and I would just enjoy, pat yourself on the back, and yay, I succeeded. I saw that, and people love my art. And so just kind of be nice to yourself, kind to yourself, and
Mhm.
just always have the dream on the horizon. Don't lose that. So
I
I think,
love that.
yeah.
Spoken like a true artist. Have the dream on the horizon, right? I love it. All right,
Yeah.
Rochelle. We're down to 3 minutes. You know how it is. This show goes fast.
Wow.
Yeah. So for me, I would say um, the not everybody's going to take that chance, and she actually didn't take the chance until she was forced to take the
Mhm.
chance. So there's a lot of fear and a lot of lack of self-confidence and the ability to be able to be successful in fulfilling and living and doing your purpose and your passion. So I think many times you just have to take a leap of faith and trust that you're being guided for a higher calling. And you may not be able to see the clear water or clear view beyond the fog, but eventually, if you keep taking those steps forward, it will be revealed to you and you will be supported if it's something you really are meant to do. Everyone is not like Eddie or me, or you, even Dr. Kim. There are many, 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 many women that are holding themselves back from doing stuff that feeds and nourishes their
Sure.
soul because of their responsibilities that they have,
Mhm.
and they can't
Mhm.
see that if they can't see how they would survive if they didn't have that job
Sure.
that provides them the income. But lo and behold, if it's something you really meant to do, you just have to trust and have faith, take that leap of faith, and just move forward inch by inch, and your divine plan will be revealed to you and you will be successful. It's not easy, and you're going to have challenges, and there's going to be difficulties, and
As
there's
she
going to be
said, yeah.
but if it's something you really, really meant to do, the path will be paved for you.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Thank you, Eddie, for joining us today. My co-host, the Queen of Feeling Fabulous. Any last words you want to say to our audience?
No, just, I would say life is too short to be doing something that you absolutely hate, or doing something where people don't value what you have to
Mm-hmm.
give.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that happens in healthcare. I know, as a healthcare professional myself, things have changed over the last 33 years as I've been a licensed nurse. And so, don't stay in something because it pays the bills. Go with something that feeds and nourishes your soul, and you will be so much happier, healthier, and have a life full of joy and exuberance and
Exactly.
organic energy, I guess. I don't know.
Exactly. Well, awesome. Thank you so much. We're at time. Just don't forget, you are enough and you are worth it. So you can take time to be able to work it out, but make it happen. Don't forget that you are not alone. And come back and see us next time at Real Talk. Subscribe so you can see what we're up to, so we can be able to go through this journey together. Until next time, bye-bye.